Hi everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Video Game Dad. Today we are having another subscriber milestone special, and we are celebrating 100 subscribers! Thank you guys so much for getting me this far. As you know, I've been teasing this for a while. This is going to be a Q&A episode, and so I reached out on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+, anywhere that I could ask people questions. I reached out, and they gave me some really excellent questions. And so that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be answering those, and similar to the last milestone, this is not going to be just me staring at a camera for 20 or 30 minutes and spitting out responses. I'm also going to be playing a game. And today, that game is going to be... Yup. We're playing Cheetahmen II. So... This is a very infamous game, and it's widely regarded as one of the worst games ever made. With good cause. I played it a little bit already. It's frustrating and I hate it, and I'm already feeling awful for making myself do this, but it's all for the audience. I'm a Cheetaman. I'm killing monsters. Let's wreck some fools. You can't duck. I'm jamming down. I mean... Part of it may be that this is not actually a complete game. I mean, if you don't know the history of this game, the first Cheetahmen was on a multi-car, Action 52, I believe. And it was kind of the flagship title, if you want to call it that. As flag as this ship can be. And somehow it warranted a sequel. And there was like... big plans for this whole thing. Like, it was going to be a cartoon. I mean, as you saw on the title screen, this is 1992, so, it's another in that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles era of, anthropomorphic animals fighting crime. And there, big plans for this that obviously did not pan out. The Angry Video Game Nerd covered it a lot, and a few other of the, veteran game critics have covered this game at length, so I won't get into it. Let's get to the questions, shall we? Wow, that was really cheap. Alright, the first question comes from Butamus. Snake, how has your experience with video games changed as you've grown up? The simple answer to that is just that I've gotten more experience. I mean, that's kind of it seems like kind of a cop-out answer, but it's true. Like, I've gotten better at games, not substantially in a lot of ways. But before, when I first started playing games, I was very young, probably about Allison's age. And for me, it was just about hanging out with my family and not really playing the game well, just kind of goofing around. Like, I remember playing a lot of games specifically where I would fire them up, but not get very far, and I'd get frustrated and turn it off before I even got anywhere. And so I'd say that how it's changed is I've become more engaged with the games themselves instead of just the experience. And it helps that the games have become more engaging, because, games in this era, the story, if it wasn't outlined in splash screens as you start the game, it was outlined in the instruction booklet, or not at all. And it was basically just save the princess, get the thing, do the thing, beat the bad guy. End of story. So I would say that's how my experience has changed, is that as games have grown up, so have I. The next question comes from Double Damsels. They ask, what game so far has been your favorite to share/play with your adorable daughter? First of all, thank you. She is adorable, is she not? Oh my gosh. And more to the point, I'd be lying if I said that my favorite game to play with her... My favorite game is Link to the Past. I will go on record now as saying that. I've already gone on record as saying that in a number of places. But, I mean, that's why it was the first episode, because I wanted to play that with her, and I thought she would get a kick out of it, just because she really likes princesses, and so I thought she would really connect with Princess Zelda, and she did. And so I would say that's really been my favorite game to share with her. But as far as, like, how she's reacted to it, like, at the heart of it, that is my favorite thing about doing this, is the way she reacts to the games, just because everything is so shiny and new. Like, one of my favorite moments is from Super Mario World, when we get into the room with all the coins, and she's just like, wow, look at all those coins! And just sharing that experience with her, just how everything is so new and exciting. I mean, really, as a cop-out answer, I'd say all of my games are my favorite to share with her, just because she's so fun to play with. But there have been a few surprises, like Blastcore really surprised me. I mean, I had memories of it being a fun game to play, but I was worried that was clouded by nostalgia. And the truth of the matter is that my nostalgia was clouded, and it was clouding how good the game actually is. It's a really fun game, and I think we both had a lot of fun with that one, just running around and blowing things up. So I'd say that was definitely the most surprising game to play with her that we both really got a kick out of. This is such baloney. There's no way to dodge those dudes. Like, there's not a run button or anything. Like, it's just so poorly designed. The enemy placement is the worst. Like, it's engineered specifically to be frustrating, it feels like. From Rent a Hero. If you had been able to design a game in the past that would be considered retro today, what would it be? Side-scroller, rail shooter, JRPG? I assume you just kind of want to know the genre of game, because, I mean, let's face it, I'm kind of a lazy dude, so game developing is not my forte. Fun story, I actually did want to be a game developer when I was a kid, but then I realized how much, like, knowledge and work and math that would require, so I abandoned that dream pretty quickly. But every once in a while, my family still brings it up. Like, remember when you wanted to be a game designer? I'm like, yeah, I grew up. But anyway, I assume you just want to know a genre. And I'd say, like, it would probably be an action platformer, just because that's, of the games that I like, that's the generation. Those were the most popular types of games. And so, you know, I wouldn't want it to be lost in the shuffle, and I'd want it to be unique. Like, I love a good platformer game. Like, Super Mario World, definitely my top Super Nintendo games. You know, which is not to say that, like, newer games don't have their place, but I do love a good platformer, and there's been a resurgence of that with the whole retro revival. But anyway, as far as, like, if I had designed a game, like, in the early 90s, it would probably be a game like this, just not sucky. So yeah, to answer your question, I would say probably an action platformer. But I do love JRPGs. I mean, I love all retro games. There's really not a genre of games I don't like. Probably if there's one type of game I am not super fond of, it's probably RTSs. But even those, I have a few exceptions, like Warcraft, the original Warcraft, or even up to Warcraft 3. I love those games. Moving on, the next question is from TerraVision Gaming. What's your favorite pizza? Pineapple and a ham. Come on. The next question is from the Flaming Monocle. What is the most evil thing you've ever done? I actually have a legitimate answer for this. I've had a run-in with the law once. Not necessarily like, you know, flipping off kittens, kicking babies bad. Irresponsible teenager bad. I was about 17 and I was working on a video production class. We got an assignment to take a piece of music and then create it was like a 30-second, 1-minute clip of music, and we were just supposed to create a short video that was inspired by that music. So me and my buddy David, huge pyros that we decided, like, it was this intense, pounding bass drum music, and so me and him he and I decided that we needed to steal some 50-gallon oil drums, empty, from the military surplus store, and set them on fire. And we did just that. We had these 2 oil drums on either side of me while I was shirtless and banging on a 3rd drum in the center that at first was not on fire, but then later we decided it would be cool to have that one be on fire too, and it was cool. But anyway, what ended up happening is that we did this behind where I worked at the time, but we didn't realize that we were, in fact, trespassing on somebody else's property. It was some storage units, I think. Anyway, that's not important. But anyway, the owner of the place called the cops because he thought that his building was on fire, or he thought somebody was trying to set it on fire because he saw these huge pillars of flame coming from his property. So he called the police on us, and they showed up, and we ended up getting taken in, and I and my buddies, we were charged with negligent use of fire. And I'm pretty sure that the only reason that it wasn't an arson charge is because we were underage, and we didn't actually set anything on fire. We were just being dumb. So that is the most evil thing I've done. I hope you enjoyed that story, Monocle, because I sure do love telling it, because it is really stupid. Next question comes from Master Thief Game. He asks, who is your favorite Ninja Turtle and why? When he asked me this question on Twitter, I told him, is it bad that I immediately know what my answer is going to be? He said, no, that's perfect. So, my answer is Donatello, because he's awesome. The actual reason I kind of consider him my favorite is just that when I was growing up, my older brother and I were about 2.5 years apart in age, so we had a lot of the same interests. One of those interests being the Ninja Turtles. And of course, if you've got kids that are around the same age, you know that everything has to be fair, because otherwise there's going to be quarreling. I speak from personal experience as both being a younger sibling and having 2 kids. Everything has to be fair and equal. So we were both into Ninja Turtles, and that meant each of us got 2 turtles. Mine were Donatello and Michelangelo. So because of that, I've kind of always considered those to be my turtles. And for a long time, Michelangelo was my favorite, just because I like his, wacky, getting into trouble, well, I'm so crazy, party dude attitude. But as I grew up, I started to appreciate Donatello more, just as being, the voice of reason of the team. Not that Mikey isn't bad, or not that Mikey is bad. I mean, he's got a place. He's definitely the heart of the group. I mean, he's got a big heart, and he loves everybody. He loves his brothers, like you do. But Donatello, he's kind of he grounds the team. He keeps everybody in check. Leonardo's the get it done leader. Raphael is the get in there and bust some heads guy, and Michelangelo's, of course, he's the party animal, but he knows how to get stuff done. But Donatello's always the guy that's come on guys, we gotta take this seriously. The shredder's out, and the Foot Clan is afoot, and we gotta stop this crime. And I also just like the crazy inventions he comes up with, which let's be real, a lot of those were just made to sell toys. I very distinctly remember a few episodes where it just he comes out with this new vehicle, the sludge chucker, the pizza thrower, and it's it reeks of marketing. It reeks of the Playmates coming up and being we need a new toy. Can you incorporate it into the show? You got it. Here's a 5-second thing where this toy is featured. Bang, $1 million seller. So yeah, Donatello, my favorite turtle. Next up, we have a question from my friend JP. He asks, what is your favorite cheese to cut a sandwich with? My favorite cheese is Munster. Whenever I make a sandwich, if I've got Munster available to me, I will get down with that. It's not as tangy as cheddar. Excuse me. Which is kind of my other fallback cheese. That's kind of my ordinary, I need cheese on a sandwich, let's do that, is cheddar. But if I were given a choice, it would be Munster, just because I like that it's softer than American or than cheddar cheese, and it's not as oily, so it makes for a good sandwich. But if we're talking about cheese spread, dude, you can't go wrong with cream cheese. Next question comes from Fallen Shogun Gaming. He asks, dadgummit. If you had to choose between being a hero or a villain, which would you choose? What would your powers be, and why would you choose it? So, when I was a kid, I came up with a couple of different superhero alter egos. The one that most of my friends know me best as is Cheeseman. Basically, he's a superhero made of cheese. He has no powers. He takes the Kal-El Superman route of just being an alien from a different planet. He doesn't actually have any superpowers. He's just made of cheese. He's not affected by the yellow sun of Earth. He's just made of cheese. I also had another superhero whose alter ego, Spike, his powers were that he had spiky hair because I had spiky hair as a kid. Anyway, to actually answer the question, I would be a villain. Because let's face it, villains get to have more fun. You know, at the end of the day, they're going to end up losing just because good is dumb. But they still get to have fun along the way, you know. Kidnap some folks, maybe kill a few dudes. And as far as superpowers, I would have pyrokinesis. This has been kind of my standby answer for superpower questions, is pyrokinesis. Just because you could do a lot of damage with fire. And I think it really is kind of befitting of a villainous personality, just the ability to take fire and just decimate an entire city with it, just with the snap of your finger. So, you know, pyrokinesis as a villain would just be a load of fun. What even with this game? Everything about it is horrible! Anyway, next question. Comes from Adam from Now's the Time For. I forgot you asked this question. He asks, why do birds suddenly appear every time you are near? Well, Adam, it's just because, just like me, they long to be closer to you. He actually does have some legitimate questions, too. First up, what are your YouTube inspirations? I'd be lying if I didn't say Game Grumps, just because they're kind of the first Let's Play that I really actively watched. And just, I love their kind of relaxed attitude, and just, it's not really about the game, it's about the experience. Which I kind of tried to model after that, but I'm bad about going on history tangents. What is this random dying when I'm jumping down? What the hell? In addition to that, there's also, Continue. Sorry, I'm just booting my tablet back up. I straight up rip the format off from Continue. Like, it's just three dudes hanging out, playing a game for a short time, and then they give a review. Except their reviews are a lot simpler. It's just continue or game over. Whereas I like to give a little bit more in-depth review just about what makes the game good and what makes it bad. But then as far as, like, comedy style, I kind of take inspiration from Peanut Butter Gamer, just with the jumpy edits and the random images popping up on the screen. You know, he and Space Hamster do that a lot in PBG's Let's Play stuff, and I like that. I think it's funny, and so I try to emulate that, and I hope it comes across well and not annoying. I hope you guys would let me know if you think it's annoying. So why do you make videos? I started this channel because I wanted a way to share something that I love with my kids. Right now it's just Allison, but I think when Kaylee gets older I'd like to start having her play too. But I mean, basically it just started as a way for me to share that with them, with Allison, and just as a way to bond with her, really, because, you know, being that we are a family of four, we don't get a lot of time of one-on-one time, just me and one of the kids. You know, it's always either me and both kids or me, my wife, and both kids. And so there's not a lot of time for just one-on-one daddy-daughter fun. And that was part of why I started this channel, just to do that. And just, you know, because I like playing games, and I like being bad at games, and I like having people laugh along with me as stuff like that happens. What do you use to make videos? I use a series of emulators. I generally try to do... Whenever I do emulations, I've talked about this, that I try to do games that I actually own. This is an obvious exception just because it is exceptionally rare. And as cool as it would be to own a copy, I don't want to own a copy because this game is horrible and it makes me frustrated. I use OBS for the screen capture and Audacity for the microphone. And the intro-outro stuff, I just have a Sony Handycam. That's what I've got. It gets the job done. I mean, you can make a crappy camera work pretty well with effective lighting. I like to think that I get the job done well enough. And then as far as editing goes, I use, Adobe Premiere for the video, and for any graphics, I use Photoshop or Illustrator. Like, my thumbnails and the insights are all done in Photoshop, but a lot, like my logo and my identity were all done with Illustrator. So, you know, I'm comfortable with vector and raster. It just kind of depends on the mood or what I'm what the ultimate goal is or what style I'm going for, really. We have a question from Men Over Beard. Did you always know that you were going to be a VG dad before you were a VG dad? I assume you're just asking if I always wanted to be a parent. And yeah, I kind of did. Like, I had 2 younger siblings. I have one. I've mentioned this briefly. My younger brother died. He was diagnosed with cancer, and he died when he was 16. That's a different story. I don't want to get into it for obvious reasons. But I had younger siblings. He was 7 years younger than me. My sister is 11 years younger than me. So I kind of had that experience of just having little people around me and looking up to me and just, wanting to be cool like me. So that, as far as that goes, like, I definitely wanted to be a dad for that aspect of it, but I didn't always see myself being a dad so young. We had Allison. I was 23, I think, on the verge of being 24 when she was born. Let's see, she was born in 2010. So no, I would have been 24 going on 25. Like, I kind of envisioned, having a more stable life before having kids, but sometimes God has other plans, as they say. And truth be told, Allison is an oops baby. I love her dearly, and I would not trade her for anything in the world, but we did not plan on having her. The short version of that story is, just to avoid getting into personal details, you know how they say birth control is 99% effective? Well, we were in that 1%. And generally I am actually kind of a vulgar person, but I try to keep the show pretty PG, so, But my reaction was a lot of expletives and, oh God, what are we going to do? I can't be responsible for another human being. I can barely take care of myself. Which, apparently, that was pretty similar to what her reaction were when she peed on 3 different sticks and they still came up positive. But anyway, I did always want to be a dad. It was something that I just thought was a very admirable trait. Being a parent just seemed like a very rewarding experience, if frustrating at times. I didn't always know that I was going to do... Like, I kind of envisioned us growing up playing games together. So I guess as far as that goes, I guess as soon as I knew I was a dad, I knew I wanted to be a VG dad. So short answer, yes. The next question comes from my friend Mallory. She asks, what would Mario's favorite sandwich be? Mario's sandwich would probably be a portobello base, a nice big hunk of portobello mushroom instead of a beef patty. Because, it's Mario. Why would you not eat a mushroom sandwich? That's just ridiculous. And what about Link's? Link's favorite sandwich would probably be calamari, because Octoroks. Next question comes from Alavas Gaming. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your channel, guys. Alavas Gaming, what was your first game system? I have vague memories of having a 2600 in my home growing up, but the first systems that I actually played were NES and Master System. Those were the first ones that I played at length. I kind of, I'd plug in Super Mario Bros. Or Legend of Zelda, and I remember playing Legend of Zelda hundreds of times and only getting through the first dungeon because I would just get confused and not know where to go after that and just give up. But I would also play a lot of Master System games. Like I played Outrun and Afterburner and this really cool game called 3D Maze Runner. I briefly touched on it in an earlier episode. I think it was the Hulk episode where I talked about it. It's basically the way Master System does 3D is that it jitters, like it does 2 separate images that are running simultaneously, but it switches back and forth between them. And so without the 3D glasses, it looks awful and it's really difficult to watch. But I found a couple of emulators that do red-blue 3D. So, if you guys would be okay with doing that, I might actually do 3D Maze Runner because it's a pretty fun game. But as far as like the first game system that I actually was like my game system, because those were all my dad's game systems. I mean, even if it was like game systems for the kids, it kind of still felt like it was his game systems, So the first game system that I bought that was really mine was the PlayStation 2. My buddy got one. He got it on day one. He got a PlayStation 2, and I was just instantly jealous. And I was like, I got to get my hands on a PlayStation 2. So I talked to my mom about it, and she agreed to pay for half of it. So basically, I just saved up my allowance for however long it took me to save up the $150 or whatever half a PlayStation 2 would be. And then we went down to Walmart and bought that PS2. So that was like the first console that was my console. Next question comes from my buddy TJ. He asks, what is your favorite obscure video game? I have to admit that I cheated a little bit on this one. Most of these responses are off the cuff, but I cheated on this one just because I kind of had a hard time remembering games that were like super obscure. And so as far as that goes, like, we played one, Snake Rattle and Roll it's a semi-obscure game, but like a handful of people know about it, but it's not one of those like, it's not one of those like iconic NES games. It's one of those like third, fourth tier games that a few people know about it. And like, I remember when I made the video, my friend Dave was like, oh yeah, this game existed. This wasn't just some crazy fever dream that I had. So, it's unknown enough to elicit reactions like that. But as far as like really obscure games, I'd have to go with Karnov. If you've not heard of this game, basically Karnov was an enemy. I think it's a Data East company. I can't remember what game he comes from originally, but basically he's a villain. And he's just this beefcake Russian dude that, gets drunk and punches fools in the face. And so the publisher decided that Karnov needed his own game. So Karnov got his own game. So you play this beefcake drunk Russian dude and you run around punching monsters. And it is super rad. If you've not played Karnov, try and find it because it is ridiculous but so much fun to play. The enemy placement in this game is irritating. Next question comes from Bronan Games. He asks, if you could choose only one game to take to a desert island, what would it be? As I mentioned before, Link to the Past is my favorite game, and it's probably the game that I've played the most out of any game that I own. I've bought it 3 or 4 different times. I had the original Super Nintendo cart. I have the Game Boy Advance port. I bought the Wii Virtual Console version on our old Wii before it got stolen. I think I might have bought it again on our new Wii. Yeah, we got robbed once. That's another story. Maybe I'll get into that sometime. Boo this game. And so, like, my gut, I want to say that, but I worry that I would get bored of that game because it doesn't change very much. So, like, because of that, I kind of want to say, like, a roguelike game. Something like Dragon Crystal would be a great desert island game just because it is ever-changing, and it changes in a lot of ways, and it stays very interesting. And I've never finished it, and I would still like to finish that game someday. After we did the episode, I played it some more, and I really like that game. It's a very fun game. So something like that, or Diablo, like the first Diablo would be pretty fun, just because that is kind of that same vein of, it's still the same basic game, but it changes over time. Or even something modern like Rogue Legacy. That's a game I might like to play on the show. I'm planning on doing a series, maybe a month or 2 months, where I play modern games, and I think Rogue Legacy might be one that I play, just because I've played it before, and the reason I found out about it was because of what killed me? The air? Anyway, where was I? Rogue Legacy. I found out about it because of Steam Drain, and I got very interested in it, and I downloaded the demo, and I thirst for more, but it's just not something I've picked. It's not something I've purchased yet. I still just have the demo, and so maybe someday I will purchase the demo or the full version. It's on my Steam wish list if anybody wants to buy it for me. Or even like a puzzle game like Tetris or Dr. Mario. Maybe not Tetris, just because I play that a lot with my wife, and I might like a reprieve from Tetris. Sorry, honey. So maybe Dr. Mario. I will wreck some shop with Dr. Mario. So, you know what? I think that's going to be my answer. I think Dr. Mario would be my desert island game. Bull crap enemy placement. Screw this game. So we've got one more question. This is actually a really good one to end on. This comes from my friend Sherry. She asked, what are your plans for format change if when VG Dad number 2 wants to participate? I touched on this briefly before. The reason I started this YouTube channel was just to share the experience of some of my favorite, or in this case, worst games ever, and just share something that I enjoy doing and bond with them. And so, really, when Kaylee is old enough to play games, I definitely would like to include her. And my friend Retro and Active Gamer, he's got a pretty good format. He's also a VG Dad, not the VG Dad. But he has a similar format to mine, where he just sits down and plays a game with his kids. And so I'd like to think that it would probably be something like that. Like, the format really wouldn't change very much. There would just be a third player, and, maybe we might try to play some games where all three of us could play, or even just do more co-op games and watch the girls go at it with each other, because that would be fun to watch. So, to answer the question, the format probably wouldn't change very much. I mean, ultimately, it's nice to know that I've got Kaylee as a backup, because Allison's not always going to have fun doing this with me, and if she ever loses interest, I can start getting Kaylee involved. And, I mean, really, if they both lose interest in it, I don't think I would stop doing it, because I'm still having a lot of fun. I would just, I'd still be VG Dad, but I'd be doing a lot more dad solo stuff like this, or maybe even try and swindle my wife into doing it, because hopefully the Mother's Day episode has aired by the time I finish this. I'm not sure when this is actually going to be going up. Anyway, I might be able to, if the kids stop having interest in it, I might be able to swindle her into playing games with me. I don't know. She seemed like she had a lot of fun doing the Mother's Day episode, so maybe I could convince her to do more with me. I'm hoping she does, because we had a lot of fun. I mean, you can tell by the way I said it after we recorded. I have not laughed that hard in a long time. So, to answer the question, I don't think the format will change too much if and when Kaylee starts to show interest in playing games with us. So that is the last question. I'm on my last nerve with this game, so either I'm going to finish the level or I'm going to lose my last life, and we're going to be done. It's probably going to be lose my last life, because this game is frustrating and has stupid invisible pirates and ground enemies that you can't shoot and air enemies that you can't dodge, and seriously, this game is the worst. Why did I put myself through this torment? I'm dead. I have one life left. Alright, let's make this one count as I run into everything. Good night. I am the worst at this. But in my defense, this is a terrible game with terrible, terrible enemy layout. Like, seriously, what are you supposed to do about that? You just have to take the hit. And then you only have like 5 hits. So we're done playing this game. So, once again, I just want to say thank you guys for getting me to 100 subscribers. At this point, I think it might be 115. I'm a little behind the times. Sorry. But thank you to each and every one of you. Thank you guys so much for coming to my channel and checking my stuff out and just playing along with me. I have a lot of fun. I hope you guys are having fun. And I hope that I can continue to grow and really get the most out of this hobby. Well, thanks again for joining us for another episode, guys. Until next time, keep playing.